Take 9.
Oh Lord, daylight awake me, we will ride, going to the other side. Sunlight awake me, we will ride, going to the other side. Daylight awake me, we will ride, going to the other side. Sunlight awake me, we will ride, going to the golden road on the other side. I was born into slavery from my mother, feeling disrespected. She passed it down through generations. You gotta work harder, and I tried to be much better. Black sheep, she was my name. Time to unlearn the things you know and create a new day. Daylight wake me, we will ride, going to the golden road, to the other side. Sunlight wake me, we will rise, going to the golden road, to the other side. Daylight awake me, we will ride, golden road, to the other side. Sunlight wake me.
Take 9.
Oh Lord, daylight awake me, we will ride, going to Take 9. Take 9. Take 9. Oh, Lord. Take 9. Oh, Lord.
We
I'm
can have
sorry.
our, I mean, We got some creatures, or are we? We're not.
No, we're not broadcasting in there yet. That's me standing. That's the other me
The other you?
standing
Okay.
over by the red dot.
Gotcha.
Um, I just need to get my cues here. So this one comes
Oops,
to
let me
here.
shut that notification off.
Take 9. Oh, Lord. Daylight awake me. We will ride. Going to the other side. Sunlight awake me. We will ride. Going to the other side. Daylight awake me. We will ride. Going to the other side. Sunlight awake me. We will ride. Going to the golden road on the other side. I was born into slavery from my mother, feeling disrespected. She passed it down through generations. You gotta work harder, and I try to be much better. Black sheep, she was my name. Time to unlearn the
All right.
I love your voice.
Welcome,
I love
everybody.
your voice.
Welcome back to the Rope-a-Dope Lounge in the Metaverse. My name is Lewis, and we have a great show queued up for you tonight. What are we doing here? Why are we experimenting with the Metaverse? even when the biggest companies on the planet have decided to abandon it, because we can connect people. And these are stories that have to be told. This is music that has to be heard. And we have the ability to talk directly with avatars, with people from around the world in this room. And 6 months from now, I'm going to see this with dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of people hanging around and having the ability to actually communicate with each other without scrolling and swiping and liking and things like that. So with that said, we have a great cast here tonight. I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, partner in crime, Mr. Fabian Brown. Fabian, how are you?
Doing great, Lewis. Thanks for the time here, and thanks everybody for coming. For all of you people in the virtual world, I get the tough part, the nervous part. I get to introduce our special guest. And I say it's tough just because Lewis and Rope-a-Dope have a great way of just introducing me to some pretty significant people. And today, it doesn't fall short of that. We are here with Miss Cole Williams. Brooklyn born, not New Orleans, as I learned today. Brooklyn born. She's a recording artist. She's a songwriter, a producer. She's a multi instrumentalist. She's a host for WWOZ, and she's a humanitarian based out of New Orleans. She's all these wonderful things, but it's clear in the short time that I've gotten to learn about Cole and my exchange with her that her passions are really just uplifting the human spirit. And that's really, really obvious. And we're going to get into that today. With all of her gifts and talents, and her resources, she's here to help build a freedom movement and to make it stronger by representing music and a lifestyle that is humane and equitable. And I pull that right from your website, and we had to dig into all of this stuff today. We might not get to everything today, Cole, but we're going to dig into some stuff today. And I think, just for some context, because I know you're currently based in New Orleans, but you're from Brooklyn, and I know you've traveled the world. Maybe you can share how New Orleans is similar and maybe even different to some other cities that you've been in. I love to just give the people out there a good sense of what's going on.
All right. Well, you just did your thing with that introduction. I'm going to sample it. Well, thank you for joining us. This is really a great time, I think, in our history where a lot of good changes can happen. About 8 years ago, I moved from Brooklyn, New York to New Orleans. I visited this place on tour. I thought that the culture was just oozing out of the streets. It felt like a place that was colorful and lively enough that I could make my home base. And I haven't looked back ever since. I don't really know what brought me here. I say God. But the things that I've learned, and I keep on learning about myself, about the city of New Orleans, about the country, about the world. This city is so special. This is the foundation of the US. You can trace all art, music, just anything social and political. You can trace it back to this small area that's, I think, sometimes discarded. People don't really know like what a full gumbo of magic is happening down here. So as a Brooklyn girl living in New Orleans, I've just learned how to be much more friendly and to take that mean mug off. New York, you can't smile. They take it as a sign of weakness, but in New Orleans, everybody's gonna say hello. How you doing? You don't walk by somebody and they'll say, how you doing? It's very strong culturally. People look out for each other. You will never go hungry in the city. You should never go hungry because somebody is gonna feed you. So we are all family. When I first moved here, they said everything is 15 minutes away, and it's true. If it takes more than 50 minutes, it's because of traffic. There's so many different organizations, though, doing a lot of positive work. I think New Orleans has the highest amount of nonprofits per capita in the US. So there are a lot of people in New Orleans itself that are really intentional about uplifting their community. They want to see everybody thrive. And that's kind of the space that I started. I wanted to have a home that was be an example to other people that are looking at me as an example. And this place holds me accountable. This place loves me. I love it back. And the music, I mean, we can't even talk about that.
Well, we're gonna jump into the music. We're gonna jump into the culture. We're gonna jump into more of the family orientation of what you're experiencing. And I love, speaking of family, I'd love for you to introduce our other guests here and how you're connected with everybody.
I would love to. So I want to introduce first Papa Molly. Papa Molly is a New Orleanian. So this man is the spirit of New Orleans, definitely. Incredible singer, songwriter, guitar player, record producer, and human being. And he and we play some shows together where it just feels like this healing experience. So I'm so happy that he can join us today as a fellow lover of human beings and lover of humanity. And then we have Mr. Carlton Jamal Smith, who I more recently met. He and I are working on a couple of songs with a producer based out in Sweden. And Carlton is just a dynamic personality, which you guys will get to see. And he's also just an incredible soul artist that I really connect with on this deep level of musicality. So welcome, Carlton. Welcome, Papa.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
And it's been really great. It's really been great working with you lately, Cole. I definitely been a fan of yours for a long time, and it's so good. It's so good to now call myself your friend, and to be doing some music with you, and now to be sharing this with you as well.
Absolutely, and I just also want to say I respect both of these artists and people so much. So it's so great to have you here supporting me and growing together.
And let me say this, and also that's a wonderful thing. It is so refreshing in this business because we come across a lot of artists or people who consider themselves artists, but you don't always respect them. You may not say it, because it may not be appropriate, but deep down inside, you don't always respect them, or you just figure, how did you make it, or why are you taking it? You know what I'm saying? But when you come across somebody you connect with, and you feel good about them, it just music is already doing that for us anyway. But to connect to another person, like I said, Papa Mal and everybody else, I'm gonna get to know you. Cole and I've connected, and like I said, Cole, I love your voice. I listen to it. I listen to some of the stuff, and it affects me emotionally. And I'm like, I need that, because sometimes you think you get so jaded in this business, So that respect thing is refreshing, because everybody thinks they're an artist nowadays,
I'm not.
Carlton, don't go back.
Don't get me started. I'm really trying to behave.
So let me jump in here.
Everybody thinks they're an artist.
Let me jump in and I want to address the issue of the day. The music will come throughout, but Cole, and you can talk more about this in your own words, has been working with activists and musicians and helpers in New Orleans to house the houseless. My 2 cents, as I was thinking about this on the way in, is how great is a country if some people don't have a house? That's always been my line. And so let me cue up the first video here so people can get a sense of what you're doing, and then we can talk about it. Does that work?
Sounds good to me.
Oh, yeah.
In New Orleans, activists are demanding city officials expand a program to provide hotel rooms for unhoused people during the pandemic. This is community organizer Cole Williams.
The Black Panthers coined the phrase "power to the people" during the freedom movement. Today, right now, in this moment, we are all called to uplift those people that you don't make eye contact with and pass on the street, the least of ours. We gotta dig deep, and we gotta dig deeper. We gotta scream, we gotta shout, we gotta bang on doors, and we gotta let them know to empower the people. We must give power to the people.
When it comes down to GNOCRT, tell me something good.
Well, I'll try not to take up too much time, but I just want to say how we got started.
Please.
In 2020, early March, actually earlier in 2020, I met a civil rights veteran, Mr. Curtis Muhammad. I was singing at a Martin Luther King Day tribute, and we met. And from that day on, this man took me under his wing. He is a founding member of SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. He was trained directly by Ella Baker, and he said to me, I have all of this knowledge, I have all of this wisdom about organizing, and I just want to share it with somebody. And I've always loved helping people, but hadn't quite found my way of doing it besides singing some good songs. And we spoke, and he asked me, you know, what is a passion? What is a cause that really means something to you? And I said, well, people living on the streets. I said, I don't really understand it. And he told me to start talking to them, like figure out what I want to do, like how would I want to help them. And I said, well, I'm a musician. Why don't we throw concerts under the bridge? There's a bridge called the North Claiborne Bridge. And it used to be a big encampment for the unhoused. So I went over there, spoke to a few people that were living on the street, found out that one of them was the main point person, and asked him, do you want me to have a concert here? Would that be all right? He said, sure. I said, is it all right if we bring some food? He said, sure. I said, is there anything else that you'd like us to bring that you guys need? He said, maybe some books, some toiletry kits. You know, because when Curtis taught me, he taught me that you don't go to people in need and tell them what they need. When you go to people in need, you ask them, how can we help you? What do you need to get out of the situation? So I went to the unhoused in very much a servant mentality. Like, how can I serve you? I'm not looking for any credit. I just want to see how I can help, and I don't think I have all the answers. Well, we did this concert. It was me, a percussionist, the horn player, and had the toiletry kits, and it was just a good time. I was speaking with people that I would have never talked to before. And then the next week, I thought we were going to do it again, and COVID hit. So I thought, wow, the Spirit didn't bring me to these people for me to just throw them to the side. What do they really need now? They've always needed housing. So let's get together and let's see how we can support them. So we started demonstrating with them in front of New Orleans City Hall every day at 6 a.m. We were out there demonstrating. They finally got access to the hotels to shelter in place and kind of get them into the system to sign up for housing. But that process is so long. You have to wait for about a year in New Orleans to say that you've been homeless for a year. And if they think you have a couch to sleep on, they won't put you ahead on the list. So we took some of the unhoused people we were working with. We drove to different neighborhoods that are blighted, and we went house shopping. We said we're going to use citizens' rights to reclaim city-owned blighted property, renovate them with the people that are going to live in them while teaching them marketable skills. And from June 2020 to December of last year, we've been meeting every week, renovating with donations, construction donations, volunteer labor donations, some monetary donations. What's happened now is that the city has shut us down. The city has deemed an organization in charge of auctioning off blighted properties, and they targeted us specifically. And they took the stairs down, they boarded it up. Because we're partnered with Trader Joe's and Culture Aid NOLA, and we still distribute groceries to the unhoused and that community. So about 80 bags of groceries go out every Saturday. And our demonstration is working with the people. So the people that are packing the groceries are unhoused people, our neighborhood people, our volunteers with means, our musicians. Charmaine Neville was with us about 2 weeks ago. They're people that are in the community that want to get involved, but don't know how. They think it's so overwhelming because there's no support around it. And we're saying, get involved, think about the solution, and do what you can, but build a collective around that and have collective agreements. But I wouldn't be here in this space, thinking in this wonderful, humane way, always just learning to grow, if it weren't for my mentor, Curtis Muhammad, that passed away in January of last year. So I was trained in that elevator style of organizing, and that's how we founded the Greater New Orleans Citizens Relief Team.
Why did the city go after you? Were they embarrassed?
Well, I think that's a good question, but I think it's also the broader question of why are there people living on the street? Why are they disposable? Like, why don't we really care as a global society, not just in New Orleans?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
one thing is we're active, we're solution oriented, we're looking to get people off the streets by any means necessary, mental health care, living in apartments, to go to houses, living in homes. But we're offering many solutions where the city and many cities are stuck. They're stuck in their way of doing things. They don't want to expand, and their goal is not on the people. Their goal is on their job. We're focused on the people. I'm saying that people shouldn't be living on the street and get them off.
Yeah.
By any means.
You think they'd be glad you're doing something that they didn't have to do? I'm shocked at that. Wow. Mankind and his need for money. Wow.
What is, well, Papa, I'll let you jump in. And what are you hearing? What is your experience and take on this?
Well, from my experience, I did as I told Cole, there was a time from about starting about a little over 20 years ago until about 50, I don't know, maybe for about 7 years or so, I helped organize this thing where musicians would get together every Sunday and play music and not charge admission, but pass around a collection bucket or whatever. And all of the proceeds would go to help local homeless organizations. And as a result, I got to meet a lot of people that are working with people on the street. Now, this was in Austin, Texas. This was post-Katrina, where a lot of people had evacuated to Austin. And I knew lots of musicians and people there. And we started this thing. Long story short, it became very popular. We got where we were, over the course of about 7 or 8 years, we raised almost $250,000 to give to local homeless organizations. One of the things that I learned, this is where I was going with this, is that, there's really different levels of homelessness. There are people who are young and able-bodied and more or less choose to be homeless because of various things, whether they're just living a transient lifestyle, they're addicted to drugs or whatever, those things. And then there's also another large group of people who really, are through no fault of their own, have found themselves in a situation where they don't have a home. They've lost their home, they've lost their job, they've lost their family, they're in an abusive relationship, whatever. There's so many reasons why people are living on the street. And all of them are valid in their own way. Although, there should be, I realize how frustrating it is for people that work with the homeless to have the same sort of compassion towards those young, able-bodied people who choose to live that way, when there are people that are really in need today of all the basic things in life, food, shelter, clothing, and compassion, and somebody that cares. That's another thing. Cole and I were talking about how the homeless population seems, when it gets to a certain point, it's almost as if those people become invisible, and they feel invisible. They feel like people walk right past them, drive right past them, and don't even look at them, and don't even see them as being human somehow. And somehow we have to bridge that gap and make people that are fortunate enough to have homes to realize that, there, but for the grace of God, go I. It could happen to any of us at any time through no fault of our own. And we need to bridge that gap where people just drive by these tent cities and it's almost like they just choose not to see it. We need to find a way to an awareness that makes everyone seem more human. So that, because everybody that's out there, whether they're able-bodied or not, they are human beings and they do have a story. And there's some reason that they landed in this position. And I think that's one of the first steps, is just opening up our minds, opening up our ears and our hearts, and listening to the stories.
I think that's
Would you
well
say
said.
that's fair, Cole?
I agree with you completely. I think the humanizing part is a major part. I don't know any other species that doesn't take care of their own. You know, when I look at unhoused people, I'm looking at them as part of my ecosystem. So when they're raised up, automatically everything on top of that gets raised up and lifted up too. So I think there's this disconnect where people think that if we help unhoused people, that we're taking away from people with means. But what happens is that everybody gets better. You lift it up. You know, you lift from the bottom, everything that's on top of the bottom gets lifted up automatically. So I just think it's a simple situation if we put people first and self-interest second.
I think that's a great pausing point now to get into another video and jumping right back in on this topic, putting people first. You know, what does inclusion look like? What does equity look like? You know, for all human beings. Louis, I have a cue here for "Give Power to the People" for the music video. Is that correct?
I certainly hope so.
It's no reason because we have a PhD or a master's or a BA or BS from a university that we have more genius than anybody else. We have to approach each human being with the dignity and the expectation that we can discover genius we never even dreamed of, particularly when you're talking about the pain and suffering and depression. How can we possibly know from a classroom academic setting can we discover how to eliminate poverty, how to stop the suffering that people have as a result of white supremacy and racism? Somebody got to ask the people who suffer. I mean, the doctor even do that. What do you hurt?
You know, every time I watch that video, that's Curtis Muhammad, that's my mentor. But his words are always just so profound. And, you know, that's something that sticks with me. A doctor even asks you, before a doctor treats you, they got to find out, where do you hurt? So we as a society, we as people, we have to stop trying to solve these problems with what we think is going on. If you've never been unhoused, you have no idea what it's like to be unhoused or to be without. So let's work together is really what I take from that.
I noticed you say unhoused or the houseless. Is homeless become a term that's no longer used now?
Well, you know, while we were speaking with the unhoused during the pandemic, the more that I got to know them, the more that me calling them homeless just seemed that it felt disrespectful. So because I knew them, I felt like homeless. I didn't like the term. And when you think of somebody like your home, that's you. My home is here, so I'm going to bring my home anywhere. So to say that someone doesn't have a home, that's not actually talking about the problem. What they lack is a house. So we asked them what do they prefer to be referred to, and one actually said displaced. So the reason I don't say displaced is because I just feel there's so much of a gap between homeless to displaced, and I'm just trying to ease us into the way that we regard people.
Okay.
So asking.
Well, that's good to know. I didn't realize that either.
Yeah.
You know, Cole, your mentor had said on the video that we just watched, somebody's got to ask the people who are suffering. You know, learning about, you know, poverty or being unhoused from an academic point of view is probably not the way to go about it. Somebody's got to ask the people who are suffering. You know, tell me a little bit more what that means to you.
Oh, I love when he's, you know, this man is intelligent. He has a college degree, you know, so we're not saying throw out your college degrees and get with the people. What we're saying is that your college degree is not a replacement for the practice. You can get all kinds of theory, you know, from sitting in a classroom, but you're not going to get to the root of the problem unless you deal with the people. And in our experience as a grassroots organization, we've attempted to work with other nonprofit organizations, and I would say 95% of them did not want to work with us because the way that we work challenges their entire establishment. They don't go to the people. They sit in a room and they discuss what the crisis is. So we have people living on the street. what do you think we should do? Well, they need to get into shelters, or they need to have apartments. They think apartments are long-term housing. There's not one person in need that's sitting at that table that can say, this is why that's not going to work. So let's get out of the theory. You know, the theory is not doing anything but building ambiguity, I believe. Let's get to the people and let's talk to them. And we're not saying that everybody wants a house. There's some unhoused people that we've spoken to that think that they're comfortable where they are, but they're in survival mode. There's not one person alive that wants to sleep on the street. So we target, you know, our outreach to people that are interested in housing, and that's the people that we're interested in speaking with. And then when other people come around, and it's about building trust, when they start to believe us more because they've seen us every Saturday out there saying the same thing, they might start to open up. But there's a lot of distrust in the unhoused community, rightfully so. And so part of working with them is being patient, not putting our needs in front of their needs, and trying to help them see how we can work together to make them have a better life. And they should be able to do it on their own.
It seems like you guys, it's almost like you're getting so many results. Like these other people are embarrassed. That's what I keep getting. Like they don't want to message you because you guys are getting results and finding solutions, and they're not. That's what I seem to, I don't know. That's what I get. Like, hey, you making them, you showing them all up, and please keep on doing it.
You know, that's not even a thought. Like I wake up on Saturday morning, sometimes I'm so tired, but I tell you, once I step out and lift up a box of groceries that I know I'm gonna start bagging up, I just start to feel good, and I'm energized for the rest of the day. There's nothing.
And see, that's what they're not doing. See, that's you making them, you like the boxer that's getting up and training, they're not training. So, man, much love and respect to you. You're doing it.
But these are these silent acts of kindness that I think everybody is capable of. You know, if you're walking to the train station and you see somebody that's hungry, you know, whenever I'm in New York, you know, a lot of unhoused people, they stop and talk to me. I must just have the vibe. But sometimes I'll ask me for money. I'll say, I don't give out money, but if you're hungry, I'll buy something to eat.
Yes,
sometimes
I will feed you.
Sometimes I take them to the restaurant, get them something to eat. So, you know, it's like building a relationship with anybody. It takes time. Sometimes you get along, sometimes you don't. There's no difference with the unhoused. The only difference I'll really say is because of the lifestyle, they're more susceptible to like mental health issues. Living on the street is just tough. It's very tough.
The thing that comes to mind for me, if I can jump in, is courage, Cole. I think that it's very easy for us to accept whatever the dominant narrative is about why people are on the streets, and we, you know, our culture likes to make everything transactional. So it's like, I'll just give them some money and then I don't, you know. But it's I think people are afraid that it could be them, and I think that it takes courage to reach across and talk to people. When you're not sure, when you don't know what their dynamic is and what it is. So,
you know,
that's a new way. That's a new opening. Go ahead.
So I'm a Jamaican American. So my mom is Jamaican. I'm first generation American. I don't know if there are any Caribbean people out there, but very strict, very tough lifestyle. But one thing that I was just raised was do not speak to homeless people. That was part of like her trying to take care of me. Like she didn't want me to be attacked. And so she thought that that was helping me, but what that really did was create a barrier where I was afraid. I had this fear that I didn't even know where it came from. So the first time that I actually spoke to an unhoused person, I was terrified. I was like, what if they reject me? Like, what if they don't want to talk to me? You know, I'm coming over here, got some lip gloss on and my hoop earrings. I'm not going to dress it down. And, you know, what are they going to think? But it was so, I spoke to them like a person, and they knew I was a little fearful, but they knew I was humble. And the more that I've spoken with the unhoused, is the more comfortable I am. And sometimes I have to check them. Sometimes they want to pass their plates and, you know, hey, can I get your number? I'm not here for this. I'm not looking for a husband under the bridge. I'm looking to help people get housing. So it's the same thing that you go through, that you deal with housed people. But I think that if we humanize the unhoused, we can start to visualize these solutions where it just seems like, of course we should help people get into housing. Of course we should have social services. Of course we should place people in mental health care. They're just things that we all need in order to thrive. and housing is one of them.
Beautiful. I know
Am I preaching?
I'm supposed to cue something else up. Am I favoring?
No,
Give me some.
I'm preaching. I'm so passionate, but I believe it because I live it, and and I'm trying to share with other people that if you experience what I experienced, your mind would be blown away. It's the best feeling. It gets discouraging only when you focus on yourself. When I focus on how is this helping everybody, it feels so good.
I think you're onto something huge, and you're really resonating with like putting people first, no matter what your situation is. And to speak to what Papa was saying earlier, there's a lot of reasons why someone can be unhoused. From a personal experience right now, we have my wife has a family member who's 21 years old, living on the streets. And she has a whole entire family support system that is trying to bring her back and get her the help and support that she needs. But there's addiction involved. There's anger, there's animosity involved. There's a lot of things. It's complex. But to speak to what you're saying, that doesn't make her any less of a person. That doesn't make her any less human. That doesn't make our family want to stop trying to help. But not everyone that's unhoused has a family support system that's going out for there. So organizations like yours is huge. You're doing the heavy lifting for a community of people that, well, just don't have the support otherwise. And I think that's freaking amazing. So with that, I'm sorry?
We become the family.
We do become the family.
I want to jump in, and I'm not sure where we're supposed to go next on the content, but I believe that we need to play some of Cole's music. I think that's where we are. Can anyone confirm?
Yeah, I'll confirm that. And
well, this is the Give Power to the People music video, and I shot it at one of the places that they serve breakfast to the unhoused every day. So I've been doing outreach there for several months, and we asked, could we shoot this music video there? I thought it was important for people to see just what happened. So I'm performing in the music video. It's a song that I composed and wrote and produced, and you can check out what's happening in the back. It's called Give Power to the People.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say that I may or may not have the correct one. And it's just, if anybody's ever run a live stream, it's because of the way we have to name these things.
It happened.
Yeah. This is a music video. This is video 3, I assume?
That's correct, Lewis.
All right. That's what I needed to know. All right. But here we go.
The Black Panthers coined the phrase "power to the people" during the freedom movement. Today, right now, in this moment, we are all called to uplift those people that you don't make eye contact with and pass on the streets, the least of ours. We gotta dig deep, and we gotta dig deeper. We gotta scream, we gotta shout, we gotta bang on doors, and we gotta let them know to empower the people. We must give power to the people.
Yesterday is far away, my tomorrow's your today. Nothing's what it really seems to be. Walk the road less traveled, then you find yourself in trouble. Some people don't want some people to be free. Spending all our time on the other side, dance 'cause the whole world's watching you. You are life's pop culture. If you don't, then they don't wanna. Hold up your head, give power to the truth. We give power to the people. We give in power to the people. We push in power to the people. We give in power to We give that power. Ooh, smile like there's no hurt inside. Live with dignity and pride. Loving like your heaven's here on earth. Dusting off your shoulders while lies in domestic corners. Breathe in, breathe out, relax, release the hurt. Some people never lose. They never felt the news of oppression by others who win only when they abuse. How we treat the bottom, where you go is where you come from. Hold up your head, give power to the truth. We give power to the people. We give it power to the people. We give it power to the people. We give it power to the people. We got power to the people. We give that power to the people. We give that power to the people. We give that power to the people. We got power to the people. Give him that power to the people. Like the king that he is to the people. Make sure you give power to the people. Give your queen power to the people. Your empress power to the people. To the people. Say his name to the people. Don't be afraid to the people. Just walk it out to the people. And we got power to the people. 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 To the people. To the people. Give it up to the people. Give it up to the people. To the people. To the people. To the people. To the people.
Woo.
I was like, get it, girl, get it, get it.
Yeah.
It was so cold. And Charlie Steiner, he's the video director at WWOZ, and I talked him into meeting me at 5:30 in the morning so that we could set up and make sure that we caught everybody having breakfast, because they're out there about 6 a.m. Breakfast is over at 7 a.m. So we had to finish like 6:45.
Wow.
Yeah, but I hope that shows just a snapshot of like what happens bright and early in the morning every day for the unhoused. Like they're lining up and getting their breakfast.
Cole, I have a note here. Cole's training in the Ella Baker style of organizing by Curtis Muhammad. Why does this approach give power to the people? What drives you to compose a song such like this? And by the way, I hear the Jamaican influences. At first, I was like, "Where's my horns at?" But they were really tucked nice in there. That at the end they came through. So everything about that track was really, really nice. I digress. Why does this give power to the people? Tell me about the inspiration in creating this song.
Getting up every day and demonstrating with the unhoused, developing friendships, developing relationships, those relationships being transient. Sometimes we just fell out of touch. People living on the street are living a completely different lifestyle. It's a totally different culture that I don't think people understand. And I just got immersed in it. And it's like going to the mountaintop and learning all these things, and you're just like, oh my goodness, but if we do this and if we could do that, if y'all knew this, and I wanted to run and tell everybody. So I created this music out of necessity. During the pandemic, I had nothing to do besides drink some vodka, organize and just figure out like what was going on in the world and what was going to happen with the rest of my life. But I was like, as an artist, I have to document what's going on. But I have to document all these beautiful things that I'm learning, specifically the Ella Baker style of organizing, which is you go to the ones most in need and you talk to them, you build community, you go to the bottom. You don't try to figure out how to solve the problem of poor people by going to academics. So you organize with them and you take your time and you're patient. And when you think you're running out of patience, you become even more patient, because one thing that I learned with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee is that in order to organize Black people in the South to get them their right to vote, they had to teach a lot of people how to read. So organizers from the East Coast came over and from the North came over, Black and white. And some of these people, it was the first time that a white person had stayed with a Black family, the first time that a Black family had seen a white person up close. So there were just a lot of expectations that people had from what they're used to, but they didn't know how to work together. And so I know a lot of people coming from means they had to be patient teaching adults, 50, 60, 70-year-olds how to read. But it was about not pushing their own agenda, about pushing the agenda of the people. So give power to the people is, if we want to empower all people, then we need to equally distribute the power amongst everyone. So if I'm a carpenter, then everybody that wants to know how to be a carpenter, if they're in my neighborhood, in my community, I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you, and you bring it back to the community. So we shouldn't hoard all of these goods and services. Like, let's share it, because we're
each one teach one.
I always say that. Yep. You know, when I hear about people, oh, my grandmother passed, my grandfather passed, he was 105. I'm like, did you sit down and talk to him and record his thoughts and what? Because when they leave, they taking so much with them, and so many people don't do that. Your grandmother's 90-something. Start talking to her, start recording, whatever. Give her a little taste of something, and let her just go and record, because hey, you know, they've got so much to share with us, you know, and they just take it with them. God bless.
That's so true. And that's why I felt so blessed to work with Curtis, because Curtis was an elder, and he said all old people want to do is share their wisdom and knowledge with the young people. But a lot of young people don't take the time to sit and talk with them, because they talk slow. The stories be 2 hours long, it's too much. I went through all those long stories with Curtis. Curtis could talk about 2, 3, 4 hours, straight. But I realized how special a position I was in. And so I absorbed everything that he shared with me like a sponge, because I knew I would need it later. And there's not a day that goes by that I'm not affected.
And it was enjoyable, wasn't it?
Immensely. I'm an organizer because he introduced me into this world of organizing. So I'm adding it to the music. It's a wonderful feeling.
I love that. This brings me to another song that I want to ask Louis to cue up, and we'll jump into this after we hear the song, but I'm curious to hear about gathering and organizing musicians and citizens and students, and how they're playing a role in being active community members and participants in this initiative.
Can you repeat that, Fabian? I'm sorry.
Say that one more time.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Louis to cue up another song, "Sign of the Times," and I really, once we get back from this song, I want to understand, how you're mobilizing musicians and citizens and students and getting them to become active in this initiative. I really just want to kind of get the scope of, essentially how you're rallying everyone to this cause and getting them fired up with your passion. Louis, is that a good space to go? Good place to go?
I'm so ready.
There's a time in our lives when you stand, when you fight, when you protect what is right. No more standing on the side. Lines are getting longer. The least of ours are stronger. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What they do to you, they do to me. Someone has to care right now. What you think is what you do. What you say is how you move. Now is the time to live as one. These are the signs. These are the signs. Said these are the signs of the world time. I've said it before and I'm gonna say it again. It's the time for us to get together for real, for real. Get down to some real humanity. Let's stop looking at our differences and ways to separate us and feel and think about all the ways that we are one. Together we stand, divided we fall. Hey. Oh, and things ain't getting better. Ha. The damage is done. Shepherd out and reach to the sun. Oh, what they do to you, whoa, they do to me. And someone has to care right now. Hey. Other times, said these are the signs of the world we're living in. Yeah, I find other times. Oh, yeah. Ooh, what you gonna do now when you get in those signs? Oh, what you gonna say now when you get in those signs? And where you gonna run to? Who you gonna turn to when you get in those signs? Who will lift him up? Nah, 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 nah.
Right on.
Right.
Cole, is that a
love
take
that.
on the biblical? Is that a take on that biblical line? What they do to you, they do to me. What you do to the least of me, is that sort of like a take on that?
That is. You know, that's our motto. That's our motto with the Greater New Orleans Citizens Belief Team. You know, what you do to the least of us, you do unto me. So that's really about that holistic humanity, you know?
That stands out so strong in that song. It's beautiful.
Thank you. I think, Fabian, I think we're doing it right now. I think the way to organize more musicians into this is to get more musicians aware, to tug at the ones that are already in that space. You know, Papa, Molly, and I play. And you know, like I said, one of the reasons that I really vibe with Papa is he comes to this space, like we meet each other, and already has his own sense of purpose with humanity. And his songs are all about, you know, love and healing. And so it's like everybody can't be the head chef, right? But everybody can take different positions. So my focus with humanity is on housing, but there's so many other places that we can go with it. But just because you're not focused on housing doesn't mean that you can't be focused on housing eventually, if that's your interest. But just to be aware and to feel that people should be treated with dignity and respect, regardless of what level, class that you're on. We have a lot of volunteers that have been with us for years, and some that have been with us for a week. You know, I think that people get nervous. They think that once you volunteer with an organization, like you can show up on their schedule, and that's just not the case. Do what you can, it should be fun. So if you want to come once a month, volunteer once a month. If you want to volunteer, you know, every week, go ahead and do that. But I think it's about just finding the people that feel a purpose and know like how much better we can be as a society if we all take action.
I love that. Papa, I don't want to not hear your voice. What are your thoughts?
I agree with what you're saying, Cole. I really do. It's you have to, you know, there's so many different aspects to it. The Houseless being just one of those aspects. I know that I've spoken to people who have been displaced from their home situations. I've spoken with people that work with organizations that help those people. And just like you were saying earlier, that you don't hand out money, but you will buy somebody a meal to eat. That's something that I think resonates with a lot of people. And every city, and not just New Orleans, every city these days, you can't pull up to any busy intersection without there being people asking for money at the intersection. I think what's happening in some cases, now you have your finger on the pulse more than I do, Cole, so I don't want to speak not knowing what I'm talking about, because I'm a little bit out of touch with the scene in recent years, which is one of the reasons I wanted to work with you with this too, because it is something that is near to my heart and something that I've worked with before, helping people that are without homes, without houses. So what I'm trying to say is that I feel like a lot of people become discouraged and become maybe a little bit jaded when they see people that look like they come from a privileged background, able-bodied, like I said before, day after day on the same corner, taking money from cars that go by. They've got iPhones. They've got, oftentimes it looks like they have, lots of dogs. This is something that I've heard people say before. It's like, well, if they can afford to have iPhones and dogs, then why am I giving them money? That sort of thing. Okay. Yeah. Well, I can understand that, how you could feel that way, but the thing is that they don't represent everybody that's living on the streets. They represent a pretty small percentage of those people. That's why it seems like it's the same people you see over and over on those intersections. How do you feel about that, Cole? I'm from where I'm coming from. It seems like those folks might be making quite a bit of money on those street corners, and that's why they're so protective of them. I don't know that for a fact, but I have heard other people say that. I don't really know. I'm curious how you feel about that.
So I know specifically in New Orleans, those people that you're talking about that seem like they might have some means. They have the dogs. They're like choosing it. You still see some of them going in the grocery stores. Those are not the people that we're actually seeking out.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
We're seeking out those people like single mothers that are living on the street with their children.
Yes.
Grandmothers. Right now, we just started. So we're working with 3 regular unhoused people right now. One might have cancer. So I'm taking them to the doctor to get their tests done on Monday. So I've already scheduled some time for that. One of them was displaced because of Hurricane Ida. He's 70. He said he's never lived on the street before. So I'm trying to help him find immediate ways to get housing. Possibly we might have to do a fundraiser to raise money for materials or get those materials. But this is work that I don't get paid for at all, but I just know how helpful it is to know that you have one person that cares about you, that one person that supports, doesn't want anything. So here's the thing. I think that this world is filled with a lot of stuff, good, bad, and ugly. And whatever you look for, you find it. And so I just continue to look for the good. If I look at those posers living on the street and for money, then I will get detracted from the real mission, which there actually are some people that don't have a choice. So
there's a lot of people that don't have a choice. That was my point I was trying to make too, is that there's a lot of people who do not have a choice, and they're trying to get off the street, and they're trying to transition back to the life that they left behind, however they can do that. Whereas there's another element that's become bigger in recent years, it seems like to me, for lack of a better word, I've heard people refer to them as gutter punks. You know, it's like it's a younger element that seems to be kind of just hanging out on the street, getting money for drugs and partying or whatever. And then, you know, that seems to be hurting the people who need it the most. That's my
Are
point.
they houseless or they're just in the streets?
Well, who knows? Who knows? It seems like they are living on the street by choice to me, because there are options. If you're not physically disabled and you're young, and you know, and a lot of these people are from, I mean, this is what I've read, other people have researched. I haven't done the research myself, so I don't want to pretend like I know. I'm just saying that what I've read is that a lot of these kids, some of them are just kids in their teens and early 20s, are from privileged homes, from privileged backgrounds. They're just choosing to live a transient style that involves drugs and a street life, and they're more visible because they're out on the street corners every day getting money from passing cars. And
Wow.
And I think it turns a lot of people off to the plight of the houseless and those who would love to have a chance, that would love to feel like they were able to contribute something, and to feel valued as a human and seen as a human being again. You see what I mean?
I think, you know,
It's almost like the people that I'm specifically talking about seem to be, it seems to be like a lifestyle choice, even from the clothes they wear to the, like, you know, that look like they've been dyed in black dye, and they, you know, they have pit bulls and they have iPhones, and they're hanging out together, you know, and drinking and doing drugs on the street. And I'm not being judgmental about that at all. I'm just saying that it seems like that's hurting the.
So those people, they don't sign up for housing. Like, those people don't go to like Grace at the Green Light for breakfast. Those people are nowhere near where actual unhoused people are encamping. Those people are literally just like on those street corners, but they're not in the encampments. Most unhoused people, like, they have, well, here in New Orleans, there are these encampments underneath the bridge or near the bridge, that a lot of them stay together in, for safety reasons, you know, because it doesn't fall there. But like what you're talking about, that is a totally different like group of people. I think that they're kind of trying to pose like they're people without means. But I wouldn't say that they hurt the cause. I think that if anybody wants to help, you know, you can look up what's in your neighborhood and your community to see like what organizations actually have some sort of value. What my organization is saying is that it's not that any other organization is doing the wrong thing. What we're saying is that we have to expand the way that we look at treating unhoused people and human beings in general. And I don't think that any of the ways in which they do business have changed. I don't see any reason why somebody needs to show proof of being homeless, like have a letter that they were given to by that runs it. They have to have that letter like signed and dated, and then a year later, like they have to have that letter again. And then hopefully they've been moved up on the waiting list. But I've seen unhoused people, and it's amazing what can happen to a person living on the street for 1 year. Like, you'll start off very sane, and it would be amazing how insane you can become just by having to be susceptible to like that lifestyle, drugs and rats, and, you know, how am I going to take a shower and what am I going to eat, you know? So.
And I'm sure, you know, there's lots of women out there that are just, you know, being preyed upon too. I know, you know, it's a horrible situation for anybody. So I guess the only point I was trying to make is that it does seem like there's been a, you know, an increase in kids who seem like they're privileged or from privileged backgrounds choosing to live on the streets in New Orleans and, you know, panhandle all day and party all night. And I think that if somehow we could, you know, address that with like, without being completely judgmental, because addiction is its own prison in a way, you know, it's its own disability.
Call their parents. They need home training. We're talking to those people that like came out of incarceration and their grandmother passed away. That was their last living relative. Or, you know, some people have told me stories about like the family home was stolen by the sister, and there's all these inter-family, you know, dynamics happening. Some people that are living on the street actually work like 9-to-5 jobs, and sometimes when they save up enough money, they stay at a hotel. You'd be surprised at like how many people working in restaurants and hotels and just, you know, corporate America don't have enough money for that rent every month or for that security. You know, it's a lifestyle. So what we're really saying is let's tend to everything. Like, it's not just food, it's not just clothing, it's not, you know, there's like a 10-point plan. Like the things that everybody needs to be able to thrive: water, food, clothing, shelter, transportation, healthcare, mental health care, childcare, energy, self-governance, the right to take care of ourselves. That is being taken. When we see something going on that we think can be done better, we're not going to wait for the government to step in and take care of it. We're going to model that behavior. So we're actually modeling the behavior, and we're going to continue to model it until somebody bites. But somebody has to bite, because it's feeding the community. I mean, Papa, you're going to come on Saturdays when you're not working on Friday night. But it's such an amazing thing to see all types of people working together. And we have people from all walks of life just walking up and asking for groceries. We have some prostitutes walking up. We have some grandmothers walking up. We have people stopping by in their cars. You have some groceries. Oh, you know, I see I'll have toilet paper this week. Can I buy a roll? You don't have to buy anything, but just take what you need and give what you can. And we've been able to develop this strong community of organizers that are like right there in the community, and just watch them grow. So I don't think it's going to happen.
Sorry, let me jump in and ask, because we're at that point, or close. Cole, for the people who are watching this live stream and the people who support you and your music, and Papa Molly and Carlton, your fans, and the Rope-a-Dope family, what can people do to help you in this process?
Well, first we have a GoFundMe. We have a GoFundMe page that we're raising money for our work. It has the video of our work, it has the history of our work, and links to all our websites. To hear my music, you can go to colewilliamsmusic.com. I'm on YouTube, I'm on all of that stuff. And is there another one?
You mentioned a petition, I think, at some point. There's a petition online?
That's the most important thing. Right now, we are raising awareness, and we're trying to get signatures for this petition, which essentially is demanding that the city of New Orleans set aside 20% of all homes being used for auction to house the homeless. So instead of just selling all of these homes to developers for a really cheap price, let's set aside 20% of that. And that petition is on change.org. Okay,
and that's going to be in the comments down there, the petition, and I think there are plenty of Rope-a-Dope fans and your fans and Carlton Papa's fans in New Orleans that can just take that simple action and just start there. You want to go further? Go further. Great. And don't forget to listen to the music. That's the most important thing. I'd like to play. We have a couple of minutes, and Cole, if there's anything else you'd like to say before, but then I want to play this. I'm just dying to get to this. Well,
I just want to organize. That's what I want to say. We got to organize, and we can do it. I believe it. I believe in the power of all of us. I also want to say, please make sure that y'all follow Carlton Jamel Smith. He's on YouTube. He's on social media. He has music out. It's wonderful. Follow Papa Molly. Same thing. YouTube. All the social media. These are incredible musicians that have an incredible voice.
Thank you, Cole.
Incredible humans as well. I mean,
I made a note here. Check out Papa Mal. I've been, okay, I'm gonna go on YouTube. I'm gonna go wherever I gotta go. I'm gonna check out some Papa Mal.
All right.
Yeah, I was checking on one of your songs that I just absolutely love, man. The one,
and then I want to produce the Earth, Wind, and Fire Fabian Brown band, Fabian Brown's offspring. Okay.
Yeah. Dig your voice a lot, man. Dig your voice.
Thank you, Papa. Thank you, Papa.
Absolutely, yeah.
Fabian, you got the silvers over there. Come on, man.
Stop playing.
Oh yeah.
So I just want to tell everybody as we close out, we're going to stay on the Zoom, hang out and chat. I'm going to play some music. But I want to tell everybody that, you know, if you want to have Cole Williams back and continue this series, we're going to do it anyway, but let us know in the comments. Go ahead and like it and post it.
Let us know, y'all.
Because this is important.
You know I get to talking, so.
All right, let's do this part and then we'll...
the Black Panthers, coined the phrase "power to the people" during the freedom movement. Today, right now, in this moment, we are all called to uplift those people that you don't make eye contact with and pass on the streets, the least of ours. We gotta dig deep, and we gotta dig deeper. We gotta scream, we gotta shout.